Hello, welcome back to our discussion of the Kindle Scribe. You'll recall that last time we talked about how to set up your Kindle Scribe. Just let me go over it quickly. You make sure that your Kindle Scribe is well charged. Then you need to connect it to your Wi-Fi by putting in your Wi-Fi passcode. And you need to connect it to your Amazon account if that wasn't done when you ordered the Scribe. So if you check the box when you were checking out, link to my Amazon account, then it should be already linked. Otherwise, it will walk you through the paces to get that done. The other thing we saw was that we have the option of a passcode, and I chose one because I want my notebooks to be private. So let me put the camera to one side and enter my passcode so I can access what is there. So we saw that the first thing that you see is, and we talked about this last time, is an array of books. There's also a document in there because I made a notebook for today's session, and the books are in all kinds of categories from what they recommend upwards and downwards. Okay, so and to know where you are, you look across the bottom and you look for the word that is underlined, and that means you're in that place. Okay, so at the moment we're in home. We press library, we'll be in library, okay, where your personal library is stored. And then if you go over one more, you get to notebooks, okay, and you'll see that I have one notebook already there, okay, and the furthest one over is more. Now, you remember that I told you not to throw out the booklets and instructions that come with the Kindle Scribe and its cover. So in particular, in the little booklet for the Kindle Scribe, it tells you the most convenient place to go to get detailed information on your device. So for that, you go to Settings, okay, in the More section, okay, and you'll see a number of things here, including Help, okay. So Help, press Help, and it brings up options, and the second option is Kindle User Guide. Okay, it's loading, and you have an incredible amount of information on the Kindle Scribe, okay? And you can get to it on the internet at Amazon.com by doing Amazon.com device support. Okay? So you have an incredible amount of information there. Okay. Now, other sources, I want to get back to notebooks because that's going to be our discussion today. So I have to exit settings by doing that, and then I have to go to notebooks. Okay. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about sources of information. So sources of information directly from Amazon are not only available online, but on your device. And I would recommend that as the best place to go if you have a query. Now, as well as that, there is a terrific amount of information in artificial intelligence about the Kindle Scribe. So you can go to your favorite AI and write in a question and ask AI what the solution is. The problem with that is that there are mistakes, and also they're inclined to give you more than you really want to know. Okay. There are a tremendous number of videos on YouTube about the Kindle Scribe. Very professionally done and very informative. I tend to find them too fast and too specific. But a lot of people are used to using YouTube, and you can certainly get a lot of information there. What I like to do when I'm confronted with something new, for example, I didn't join YouTube until quite recently, and I have just acquired this Kindle Scribe, is I look for a book written by someone who really knows the device or knows the social media. And so I first look for that, and then, I may go by the rating or whatever. But then what's more important to me is that when I look at the book and I leaf through it, I see that the author of the book has similar goals to mine. And then I read the entire book. Of course, I can play around with the device at the same time, but I give myself the assignment to read the entire book because I find that way you get the knowledge of someone who's been in the trenches and is thinking about the device in the same way that you are. So the book that I'm using at the moment for that is a book by Ian Allen. I will give that in the episode description, along with my affiliate link to it. And as an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Now, a very important thing to do as soon as you get your Kindle is to make sure the personal archiving settings are correct. Now, to do that, you need to go online. So what is this little device next to my Scribe? It's a mini iPad that I picked up about 5 years ago. I actually don't use the iPad much, and this was kind of enough. Okay, so I have to put in my pen. So let me put the camera to one side. Okay, so I have gone to the relevant web page on Amazon.com to discuss what I want to say. So you go to Amazon.com, you go into your account and make sure it's the same account as the Kindle is using. And then you navigate to manage your content and devices. And then there will be a tab in that section, preferences, okay? And that brings up a whole lot of settings, okay? Right at the bottom, you'll find all your devices, and every device has its own unique email chosen by Amazon. And that includes the Kindle Scribe. And I'm not going to change the email because I like it, and I don't want to start messing in there. But that email will enable me to work with sending things back and forth with Kindle. Now, the personal document archiving has to do with being able to access your documents across all your Kindle devices and in the Kindle cloud. Now, that's not going to happen unless archiving is enabled. Okay, so it is enabled on my device, and that should have happened automatically when you bought the Kindle Scribe, but sometimes it doesn't. So if it's not enabled, you need to go to Edit Archive Settings and enable it, and then press Update. Now, just below that are two email addresses that I use that I'm approving, and I'm saying, yes, the Kindle can interact by email with these two email addresses. Okay. So that's very important. Okay. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is there are various ways to send your document to your Kindle Scribe. Okay. And the easiest one is just to go to Amazon.com, send to Kindle. So Amazon.com/send to Kindle, all in one word. And then you'll find that I found the first time I did this that I had to sign into my Amazon account again. But you'll find a place to drag and drop your files. So this avoids cluttering up your email, and it's good for large files. But other ways to send are mentioned as well. Okay, so I wanted to show you that on the iPad. So it's not unlike the Kindle in that it has a similar cover and it came with a pen, but it doesn't have the versatility of the Kindle Scribe. Okay, let me put that down. Okay, so we're back at notebooks. Now, when we were here before, we had a blank screen because I didn't have any notebooks, and in the middle of the screen was this kind of nice fan of possible templates and plus signs to show that to get to these templates, you need to press the plus sign. Well, the plus sign, once you have a document, that pattern disappears, but the plus is still there, okay? So it's on the upper right, and you press it, and it says, do you want to create a notebook, or do you want to create a folder? Okay, so notebook. Okay, and now you see the possibilities for templates pop up. And there's 18, there's 3 rows of them, and 6 on each row. And it has by default chosen medium ruled, and that's what I worked with in the notebook that exists now that I've done. So you can do with margin, wide rule with margin, narrow ruled. There's all sorts of things here, graph paper and daily planners, weekly planners, and even music. You see the staff lines of music. Okay. So I am going to cancel because what I chose was medium ruled. Okay? And I jotted down on this medium ruled the discussion that I want to have about the toolbar. Okay? So let's work our way down the toolbar. First of all, the toolbar, you can see it's on the left-hand side of the page. Now, there are 3 dots at the bottom. You press these dots, and it says move to right side. So then if you tap on move to right side, the toolbar will go over to the right-hand side, which may be better for left-handers. So the very icon, the icon at the very top minimizes the toolbar. Okay, so I just pressed it, and it's just showing what you're working with at that time, and it doesn't show the other things. Okay, press again, and the toolbar comes up. Now, the very first icon that you see, if you look closely, it looks like the nib of a fountain pen. And this icon governs the settings on your pen. So if you want to get those settings up, you need to press again. There we go. And what are your choices? You can choose pen, fountain pen, marker, pencil for the type of writing instrument that you prefer. Now, I like fountain pen, and so I've chosen fountain pen. Then down the bottom, there's a row of squiggles, and the squiggles go from thin squiggles to fat squiggles. And I worked for a while with the thinnest of the scribbles and wasn't entirely comfortable with it, so I've gone up a thickness, and that was much better. So you see the second from the left squiggle is highlighted. Okay, so if you're happy with that, then you can just press the pen icon again, and those choices go away. Now, you've got to be careful. If you want to write with the pen, you have to have the pen icon highlighted. So if you go down to some of the other options down here, the pen doesn't know it's a pen anymore because it's doing some other task. So if you want to write with the pen, you need to have the pen highlighted. Okay. Now you can see the notes that I've put here. It's to remind me and to have available for you a summary of the discussion. Okay. So the first thing we saw was minimize toolbar to pen icon, because we're on pen. And then pen icon must have it tapped to write. Now the next thing down is the highlighter. Now I should say that the Kindle Scribe is incredibly intuitive, and it's also very informative. So it tells you all the time, it prompts you to remind you what you're doing, okay? And that's a nice feature of it. So I'm going to go down to the next one. So second from the top, which is number 3, because the first from the top is the minimize toolbar. This is the highlighter icon. So it enables you to highlight text and still be able to read the text underneath. But you cannot use it to write and expect that writing to convert to text when you send the document out. It will stay a highlighter. Okay. Now, then there's the eraser. Now, as I have the premium pen, there's an eraser at the top of the pen. Okay. It feels rubbery, and it acts like a normal eraser. Or you can use the pen tip and choose a thickness, okay? Or you can choose to erase a selection or erase a page, okay? So that can be very handy when you're writing a large document. Now the next one down is the lasso. It looks like a lasso, okay? So see, we have the pen at the top, the highlighter next, the eraser next, and the icons are meant to tell you what you're working with, okay? Now the next one looks like a lasso, and it is a lasso. So you use it, it's a selection tool, okay? So down here I have the famous first verse of Antigonish by William Hughes Meehan that reads, "Yesterday upon the stair I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish he'd go away." So I'm at the lasso, okay, and I'm going to encircle, whoops, I'm going to encircle, oh, sorry, I have to do this with the pen. Not the fingers. I tried to do it with the finger and it didn't work. You have to do it with the pen. Fair enough. Now, you can delete, cut, or copy. So there is a clipboard and you can copy to the clipboard. Okay? You can also move it with the pen. See? The lasso has disappeared, but I'm able to move what is in the lasso. And you can resize it let me do it again, by pulling on the square in the one of the squares. I chose the upper right, okay? So I can resize it. Okay. So the lasso can enables you to do a lot of things, and I don't really need a first verse, so let me cut it. Okay, so now it's gone. Okay, so this hand here, this hand, you see it's a pointer, a hand pointing. It lets the pen do what the finger can do. So it means you can do things like scroll to the next page and so on with your pen without having to worry that it will leave writing marks as it goes. Okay, so the next thing down is your clipboard. And you have the option to clear the clipboard, okay? Or if you've lassoed something, then you can just tap, see? And I got back first verse, okay? Because it was on the clipboard. Now the bottom two, 8 and 9, are easy. It's redo and undo. So, erases the last thing you did, and then it puts it back if you change your mind. Okay, so that runs us through the toolbar, and so say I want to cut this again. Let me cut it out. Okay. So it's very self-explanatory, but still it takes a while. It took me a while to really get the hang of what's going on. So, and what I did was I worked with this poem and I worked with the toolbar until I was more comfortable. Now up the top, oops, let me get rid of that. Yeah, so I need to clear the clipboard here. Okay. Now up the top is a little toolbar. Okay. Now the one with 3 dots includes delete current page and other settings, a go-to page. Okay. The one next to it, which is the square with an arrow through the right top corner, it's the share option, and we're not going to talk about that this time. Now, the one with the stars is your AI tool, such as it is now. Now I can't predict, of course, but I assume that on future firmware from Kindle, the scope of what the AI will do will increase. But you don't need to worry, because when there's a firmware update, it works on all devices. Okay, so you don't need to rush out and get a new device when there's a big firmware adjustment. You need to run out and buy one when you've waited sufficiently long that you can see a better designed Kindle Scribe, and you want that one. Okay. So summarize and refine writing. So I pressed on refine writing, and this is what came up. My writing is much more neat, and it's going to be much easier for the send to text, for the text file that I'm going to get when I export it. Okay. Now, concise summary of notes. Well, I didn't have much, so the only thing that they summarized was that they didn't write out the first verse of the poem. Okay, so I don't think I'll be using that one very much for my personal notes. Okay. Now you may say, okay, what happens when I export? Okay, well, you have the option, and I'll go through this next time, to export to PDF and export to text. Okay, so that page, that's what it looks like in your text file when you convert to text. And you have to be careful to check it. For example, lasso here is misspelled. Okay, but it's done a pretty good job on my not particularly neat writing. If you export to text, and as I said, we haven't seen how to do that yet, but we will. This is exporting to text the one that AI neatened up, and it's gotten rid of the mistakes. So I think that neatened up by AI will be very useful for me. I don't think the summary by AI will be useful, because I'm mainly going to be using this to write novels. Now, you can also export to PDF. Okay. okay? And you can neaten before you do so. Okay. Well, that's great, but the problem is that those numbers there correspond to a toolbar that we don't have anymore, because when you export a document, it doesn't export along with the toolbar. Okay? So what I really want is this. Okay? I want it the same thing as I just showed you, but with the toolbar. Well, a nice aspect of the Kindle Scribe is it does have screenshot. Okay? And to take a screenshot, you press, for example, the upper left corner as you press the lower right corner. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to have another screenshot. Now, that screenshot, of course, then is you can export the screenshot, but it's more complicated than exporting other types of documents, okay? Because the Kindle Scribe isn't going to store a photo. So to get at the screenshot, what I had to do was connect to my laptop using the USB charger that's included. And then you have to download the Center Kindle app, which is available for Mac, whatever you use to work with. Okay. And install that, and then it will guide you on how to do that. And then you can see the screenshot and transfer it over to your Mac. In my case, Mac, I use a Macintosh. And then it's like all the screenshots, you can, you can print them out. So this is, close the Kindle for a minute. So this is what I got, screenshot, but you need the Center Kindle app. And then you have your toolbar, because it's a screenshot, and so it just took a photo of everything on the screen. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to say today, except to about the notebooks. Now, next time we'll discuss receiving and exporting, receiving documents, marking them up and exporting them. And let me enter again. And in my library, I already started to do this, okay? So I'm an author, fiction writer. So I was for many years a research mathematician with real name Paula Tretkoff, but then I chose a pen name, Diana Dirkby, when I switched to writing fiction novels. And 2 of my novels are being made into screenplays. And so I'm sending things back and forth with the screenwriter. And that gave me the opportunity to use this import-export of documents and get a little familiar with it. So we'll discuss that next time. And so now I want to make a few general comments. So the book that I'm using to help me understand the Kindle Scribe is a book by Ian Allen on on the Kindle Scribe. Now, I will give the exact reference in the episode description, and I will put beside it an affiliate link which enables you to get directly there to the book. Now, this is a good time to remind you that if there are affiliate links in my episode description, then I am an Amazon associate and I earn from qualifying purchases. Now, Ian Allen had a discussion about the cover, okay? And his concern is one that I have. I'm just putting things to one side. It's not protected. So this is the official Kindle cover, and it's not protected. So what he did was he covered it with something and put it in the loop on the bottom. And then he wasn't satisfied with that. So one of my affiliate links is to this cover, which is the Walnut cover, okay, which has a thing to enable you to stand it up, and it has two things here to enable you to grasp it with your hands, and the Kindle Scribe fits in here, and the pen goes here with a smaller loop than the one on the Kindle Scribe. So because he preferred that loop, he chose this cover, which is a very good cover, but he noted that it was a little bit flimsy. Now, for all my devices, I have a case, and I often have a different case for when I'm traveling, okay? Especially as my device is usually in with my big Mac book. So, that the laptop stays put when I travel, and I do most of what I want to do in the way of digital things. I mainly use my iPhone. Okay, so if I want to watch a movie or whatever. But I found actually, because Ian Allen wasn't entirely happy with the Kindle Scribe, I found another type of cover specifically for travel by Kodak. Now, this will be, I will give the affiliate link to that, okay? So it is leather. So if you don't want leather, then the walnut is better for you because, and I'm only talking about traveling because the Kindle case that I bought with the bundle is perfect for when I'm leaving my Kindle on my desk. Okay. And I always put the pen back against the Kindle Scribe so it doesn't roll off the table, okay, and get hurt. So this is much more hefty, and so again, it's from Kodak, Cobak, and I haven't done anything with it except have a good look at it, and I did put my Kindle Scribe in it. So what it has is the four, just like the Kindle cover, the four little indentations, and that's where the magnetic feet of the Kindle Scribe will go, okay? But what is very nice about it is there's a slot here where you can put your Kindle pen, okay? And of course it will touch the Kindle Scribe, and it will be already attached magnetically because this is free here, okay? This side is covered, but this side is free, okay? So it will stick onto the Kindle. But cover itself has this flap, okay? So everything is protected, okay? And the pen can't roll out, okay? So this has become my new favorite cover for travel. Now, it has pockets for travel documents. I'm not going to put anything in there except my boarding pass if I'm on a plane, because I don't want it to put too much against the Kindle. Okay? But again, it closes and your pen is snug in there. Okay, snug in there and protected. You can see it's protected. Okay, so I wanted to mention those things. So the book that I'm reading cover to cover is Ian Allen's book. The progress has been reasonably slow because I've been doing this stuff as I'm going along. But it's really an excellent book, and I will reference it in the episode description. So Ian Allen is someone who's written a lot of nonfiction, just as I did with my research mathematics. And now he's writing a fiction novel, and he wants to use the Kindle Scribe as an aid to an organized approach to his novel. Now, I believe he's typing up his novel in Word, but it's certainly something where the text version of the file is the one he wants to use. Okay. So I will describe more about his approach later. And then what he does is he sends the file as a PDF to the Kindle and marks it up using the toolbar. And then he sends it back to himself, or he just looks at it on the Kindle Scribe and makes the changes directly in his word processor. So he does rinse and repeat on this until he's satisfied with the result. So I want the Kindle Scribe to do a very similar thing for me, except I'll be using the Scrivener app, not to be confused with the Scrivener pen. So the Scrivener app is a well-known app for writers. And its goal, and it achieves it very, very well, is to organize your novel. So just putting away the new cover. So it organizes your novel for you, and it compiles the novel and exports it in quite a number of types of file, okay, including the same file as a Kindle book. And what I want to use the notebook section for is to organize the thoughts that I have that start gushing in once I start to write. So usually I think about a book for some months, and then when I go to Scrivener, I immediately start writing. And then as I write, I get ideas, I get solutions to situations and so on. And those have been going in, just like it was for Ian Allen, they have been going into notebooks written by hand, and it's very, very hard to organize them because they are relatively random. So I'm going to now organize my inspirations, if you like, using the notebook section of the Kindle Scribe. Now, the Kindle Scribe is something like my iPhone that I would feel happy working with on a trip, as long as I'm using this sturdier cover. But for working at home, I still say that the Kindle cover is the best one. Okay, so that's all for today, and this video is paired with an audio file that I have made, and I will reference that in the episode description. Until next time. Oh, don't forget, if you're watching me on YouTube, don't forget, subscribe, like, comment. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.